Hey Linda, Brenton here. Well, I'm so sorry it's taken me so long to get around to doing a tour of our garden, but thank you for asking. Now's actually the perfect time. It's autumn and there's so much interest and colour in the garden, so hopefully you enjoy it. One of the first things you notice as you come up our driveway is these Manchurian pears. We've planted them out. There's about 70 in total to sort of give that really lovely enclosed feel as you drive in. And I've underplanted them with Sedum Autumn Joy. So I started off with about 5 plants and kept propagating them and planting them out. And so it sort of gives that really lovely, I guess transition of colour from spring where they're that really nice lime colour into summer, and then the beautiful flowers in late summer and autumn. And then they transitioned from a red colour into this rusty colour that they are now. So they're a cracking plant, really quite hardy, and they work well with the Manchurian pears in each of those seasons. And you can see here the Manchurian pears are just beautiful at this time of year. This first section that I wanted to show you is brand new. So when we first got here, the property was on a massive slope, and we've taken about 1,200 tons of soil from the back of our place and put it here at the front to create this new level. And I've planted it out with London plane trees, but you might want to come and have a look and I'll talk you through some of the plantings. Linda, this is our new privy garden, and this, as you can see beyond, is a bit of a gully, and we get these really strong winds occasionally that come down from the Mount Lofty ranges and clear right through this place. And so I wanted a place on the property that was a bit more protected, that you could actually sit in and feel enclosed and relaxed and protected. And so I've planted right the way around this border with a hedge called Cupressus lusitanica, or private green is its common name. And it's going to sit about 5 feet high is the plan. And then I've gone and bought these new gates, or these quite old gates, I only got them recently, and we're going to use big red gum sleepers to hold them in place. At the moment I've just got star droppers just keeping them up so I can sort of get a feel for how it's going to look. There'll be another hedge here, so that as you walk through this narrow corridor you'll feel quite enclosed, and it'll start preparing you for entering into the larger space. But we'll probably have this hedge from about this height, and then it'll sort of scale down to meet the red gum sleepers that are holding up the gate. I've also got, you can see here, the English box balls. There's a number of those that sort of frame some of the key spaces through the garden. So they're looking the part 3 on both sides. But you might want to come in and I'll talk through some of the other ideas in this garden. One of the challenges with this space, because it's brand new and because the level above is new, it's all clean fill, I had to sort of link the two together, and instead of having any retaining that would cost a lot of money, I've gone with a gentle slope down. But the challenge was planting it out so that it doesn't have weeds overtake it. And some of the plants that I've chosen, one of them is this prostrate rosemary. So it's a beautiful plant, so that deep green colour with beautiful sort of mauve, lavender coloured flowers, which you can see at the moment. But the idea is I'll keep trimming that right the way through the season, and I'll trim it at different heights so it's sort of more a wavy look. And the idea as well is to have it so that it's not blocks of green, but it's more drifts, and it's sort of nearly oozing out of the hill. So that's one of the plants that I've chosen. Behind that, I've also picked a plant called Juniper sabina. So this is another plant that I guess has more lateral growth, so it'll look like more carpety and it'll have that flow. But you can see it here, if you have a closer look, this is it sort of spreading out. And then I'll keep this trimmed, and you can see here how the rosemary then meets with this plant, which will sit a little bit higher, and there's a few of those in there. So there's just those different levels of lateral growth and different shades of green, which I think will be really interesting. Amongst the prostrate rosemary and the sabina, I've also got these English box balls, and the plan with these is to keep shaping them to have them sort of connect with each other at different heights and shapes. And I've got these on one side, and they mirror those on the other, and in the middle there's going to be this 5 meter wide staircase, which will look really impressive. It'll connect the top level with the lawn down to this space, and I just want to show you a different perspective of how the stairs will look. This is the view that I wanted you to see, looking back at the house, and you can see in between the two box balls, or groups of box balls, is where the stairs are going to be. It's really weedy at the moment, but if you could imagine a 5 meter wide staircase, it'll be concrete, but I'm going to grow a climbing fig across the front, so it'll look like a hedge. And then the top of the concrete will be stone capping, and so there'll be this really lovely sort of horizontal lines of green and then stone across the front, which I think should look really good. I think the temptation often with stairs, particularly where they're going to cost quite a bit, is to skimp and to end up with smaller stairs, but you can see here how magnificent it'll be having 5 meter wide stairs that are actually, from where you're standing now, they'll be as wide, if not wider, than the house itself. The other thing to note is with the house, you can see the espaliered Manchurian pears that I've got. They're starting to turn that crimson color now, but I used them because the house is quite imposing. It's 2-story, it's stone, and I wanted to break up the hardness of the look of the house by having that green. And so hopefully the stairs do the opposite, or do, I guess, the same thing as the espalier, where you have that stone, green, stone, and then it continues up through the house, finishing with the crimson glory vine at the very top of the veranda. So Linda, this is this next section that I was talking about. You can see here, this was all clean fill, and there was a really steep slope down to the bottom of our property, and so we dropped in heaps of clean fill. You can see the Manchurian pears up the driveway there, and I've used Teucrium fruticans as the balls there. They're a really hardy, lovely plant that cope well with not too much water, and they shape up really nicely as well. And this just gives you an idea of how the house looks with the espaliered Manchurian pears. You couldn't quite see it before through the smoke, and so that gives you a bit of an idea. You can also see in front of it the fig fence, and this was originally put in place to stop kids jumping over the dry stone wall. It didn't work. They're pretty handy at it now, but it looks fantastic. There are about 7 figs across the front. We still get plenty of fruit from them as well. And just up there you can see how there's plenty of grass now on that side garden. That previously was a garden, but because we didn't get much rain, it ended up being very dry, so I've pulled that out. And this is also the side that would have any fires approaching. This is the, I guess, nearly the northwestern side, and so wanted to make sure there was that added protection in the event of fires. So that gives you a bit of an idea a bit closer up. This is the fig fence, and as I said, it's got 7 different figs spanning this probably 15 meter stretch in our garden. The way I did it was obviously planted them, and then I had sticks in between the plants that I then ran some wire across, and so as the plant grew, I kept sort of attaching the new growth to the wire. And what I continue to do is every 6 to 8 weeks, particularly during summer, I keep cutting it back. So the plan is to always only have it at knee height, so that it doesn't impede the view of the house too much. And I've now taken the wire out, so now that the stems are really quite solid and the trunks are really strong, I've pulled that support out and it's growing by itself. So I still get plenty of fruit, as I said, but you know, the challenge with keeping it cut is that you keep missing out on all of that new fruit that comes from that growth. This is our kitchen garden. You can see it's 6 raised veggie beds. All of this from about 2 meters in front of me, right the way down the rest of our property, was a massive slope, and so it all dropped off really steeply. And what we've done is dropped in a whole lot of clean fill as well to create this flat space. And so even though a lot of the soil was clean fill and I knew that it was clean, I still use raised veggie beds just in case. You can see here there's heaps going on. We've got beetroot, lettuce, plenty of kale. In fact, the beetroot's just winding up. but broad beans and some basil that's still going, eggplant, cauliflower, it's all happening, which is really exciting. You can see here, if you have a look, this is our stick fence. So when we first got here, there was a whole lot of fencing wire and there was heaps of sticks from the back of our property, and so created this stick fence with the kids, where I literally just weaved the eucalyptus sticks through the fence, and it just gives it a really lovely rustic charm, but also keeps animals out as well. The other thing that I've got here that you may be able to see is the worm farm, and so this is a fantastic setup. It's an old bath and it's on a bit of a tilt, so we keep all the food scraps working for us, I guess. So you can see here the amount of worms that we have chewing away at all the scraps, and we just pile everything in there. There's obviously some great worm castings, but the byproduct of that is this, and so that's all the worm juice. From there I then take it and I put it into a tank that I then use and mix with bore water, and then I feed the veggie patch. So it's a great way of using food scraps and making sure, you know, we end up with plenty of lovely new produce as a result. This part of the garden is completely overgrown, but it's overgrown in a lovely way. I think there's plants like this salvia that are just spilling over onto the path. We've also got there those Teucrium fruticans, which need a bit of a clip, and this Calamagrostis grass that's just spilling over onto the path. So it's lovely. So plenty of colour. You can see the Manchurian pears behind works so well with all the other colours that are going on in the garden. So Linda, I hope that was enjoyable. I hope you guys got a lot out of it, and we'll certainly stay in touch and hopefully do another tour in the future. Take care.